Let's return to our breaking news today that the Duke of Edinburgh has been transferred to a different hospital to undergo testing and observation for a pre-existing heart condition. He left King Edward VII's Hospital in central London and was taken to St Bartholomew's a little earlier. Buckingham Palace say he does remain comfortable. Well, let's cross live to Leeds so we can talk to Victoria Howard, the editor of the Crown Chronicles. And Victoria, what do you read into this move from one hospital to another?
So I think the main thing to remember with the transfer is that St Bart's is actually a cardiac specialist. And of course, that's what they're saying. He's also going to have, additionally, there's going to be some tests and observations. And the Duke, 10 years ago nearly, he had a stent fitted in 2011. So there's already some, weaknesses there anyway. So I think this is, it does indicate this is a serious matter. You know, they need the best care they can get for him. And that King Edward VII Hospital just doesn't quite provide that. So particularly with his age as well, I think a lot of people are quite worried.
And in terms of, the infections, his past medical history, he has often had infections in the past, haven't he? But do we know much about his heart condition before?
No, as you say, he's had a number of infections in the past, which has put him in hospital. You know, the Diamond Jubilee celebrations is one big example of that. And the heart conditions, they've been more, the palace haven't been so forthcoming with that information because, it does sound quite serious when you start talking about heart conditions naturally. And they are very loath to share any sort of personal health details with the public. So it's only when there's something genuinely very serious that they will share this information. So the stent in 2011, this transfer, I think that we really can read into it that there's possibly a bit more going on than we might understand.
Let's just step away from Prince Philip and his health for a moment and talk about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The Duke of Sussex, of course, has done this interview with Oprah Winfrey. He said that he feared history repeating itself, which is, of course, a reference to his mother's death. An excerpt of the interview has been released. Let's just have a little listen.
Were you silent or were you silenced? I just want to make it clear to everybody, there is no subject that's off limits. Almost unsurvivable sounds like there was a breaking point.
My biggest concern was history repeating itself.
You've said some pretty shocking things here. Wait, hold up, wait a minute.
Victoria, why this interview and why now?
I think we know that Meghan and Oprah are semi-good friends, and I think that they see this as a way of telling their side of the story. Oprah has such a huge presence in the US that it's going to get the reach. So I think that's what they wanted more than anything, to get their word and their side of the story out there as far as they possibly could. Why now? I'm not entirely sure, and particularly now with Philip moving hospitals. He's been in hospital for a while already. The optics aren't that great, from a PR point of view. Of course, they couldn't have predicted this, but it just it jars a little bit. I do think, however, they've made the announcement that they will not be returning to the royal family, that there's no chance of them coming back for those official duties. So maybe it's that they've made that decision already, hadn't announced it and said, OK, this is our next step. We're officially out. Let's tell our part of the story.
How do you think it'll be received within royal circles?
I think people are bracing themselves a little bit. Even that teaser, it seems very, of course, it's edited and cut to come across a certain way, but it does seem that there's some side swipes at members of the royal family, saying Diana went through it on her own. Does that say that, is he criticising Prince Charles there, his own father, and saying that this was a terrible situation? Then there's some blame there, there's some resentment. I don't know, but I think we are going to find out some things that won't go down well for the royal family.
I mean, although, his supporters will say, well, he's just being factually accurate, isn't he, that she was separated from Prince Charles, she was on her own. I mean, has he done anything really wrong? This is a young man who's simply left the family unit, moved to a different country. He has said his life is going to remain devoted to service. I mean, there are all sorts of things people can do to bring their families into disrepute. It does seem that, he's not doing anything especially wrong, is he really?
No, I don't think anyone can say that he is, doing something out of the ordinary. But I think historically for the royal family, TV interviews like this do not go down well. Meghan and Harry did their documentary while they were in South Africa about a year or so ago. That came across a bit whingy, if I'm honest. And at least that's the perception I got from other royal watchers as well. I think as well with, if you think back to Charles and Diana, it comes across as a bit of a slanging match. Who said this? Who did this? You can't blame them for wanting to try and put the record straight. But I think the shock that comes with this and the shock factor is that the royal family tend to be quite tight-lipped. They keep everything within the family. So once you lift that lid, you kind of can't control it. And I think that just goes with the territory of them moving to the US, not being royal, so to speak. This is going to be some historic moments, I think.
Victoria Howard, good to talk to you. Thanks very much.